Hey everybody, welcome to UD7. Hey Mitchell, what's up?
I was worried for a sec, but now I'm totally fine. I'm ready. I'm happy. We're here. We're doing another weekend tournament. We got three games. We're gonna be playing two quick ones. We're gonna be playing Minute and Out There Somewhere, and then probably the longest one of the entire category in the Messenger. So we got some pretty strong players picked out for today's restream, I think.
Yeah, we're going to restream Taker, Ghost Des Sablier, and Molgemes. One of whom has qualified last week. Was the first chance tournament, playing all 10 games in a row, and Taker got the first place and qualified already for the grand finals. Ghost Des was seventh, sadly just behind the cutoff, and Sablier and Molgemes did not quite get there, but they're among the best players on those 10 games.
Yeah, for sure. They've got what I got some stats. Like Sably is in the top 10 for all three games today. Ghost Death almost the same, just a little bit outside on Out There Somewhere. Molgames is 15th on Out There Somewhere, and a little bit further back on the Minute and Messenger. You can see some of these player cards now, starting, of course, with Taker, who is number one overall in grind, number one overall in race, 2156 for a race time. You know, just mostly based off of that performance in the qualifying tournament, has head and shoulders been the best of the players, thanks in large part to a fantastic rack that is way faster than everyone else. But that's not it, right? He's also like top three on almost every other game.
Yeah, on not a single game decides it all, and Rag Taker has quite a lead at 1137, 242 points, but he's ahead of Devoltifa by 54 points, so you have to take that into account. They're super good at every single game. Maybe Trackmania and Kirby's are their worst, but still up there. Sablier, on the other hand, did not quite perform on races as well as their place in grind times. 50 points behind grind times in races means that they never quite got good races, and I'm expecting them to finally get there, getting the confidence, and on the Messenger, Minute, and Out There Somewhere, I'm sure they can do it.
It really is something that doesn't. You have to practice performing under pressure the same way that you practice any other speed run. And for some people, it comes pretty naturally, and for some people, they really have to work on it. I definitely don't do nearly as well playing under pressure. So I totally feel for Savly, and I totally agree that it's only a matter of time until it all kind of comes together. Ghost Death as well was so close to putting it together in terms of getting something that would qualify them during our first chance tournament. Finished in seventh, and you can see seventh overall actually in race time overall on the leaderboard. 2014 points, very, very good. Of the games we're playing today, they've got a fantastic Minute, and the Messenger is really one of their standout games. Is seventh overall on the leaderboard, and that's a game where I think it's pretty tough to crack the top 10. There's a lot of people who have put in a lot of time, have got the time way down. You can see 33:26 there is the PB. It's pretty surprising to me how many people have got to such a high level in that game when there's so much to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot, and even when you get there and you're deathless and you're performing as well as you can, you could end up with like a 35 minutes and not understanding where are those 4 minutes left to save. It's a crazy deep game movement wise, and it's pretty intense. Molgames has on the Messenger a 38:26 second PB. Still fairly good. Anything sub 40 means you put in the time to learn and to play the game quite a bit. Out there somewhere, no race time. I'm surprised because their PB is super good at 7:22. Not a lot of players have cracked that 7:30 mark, and very few players have passed under 7 minutes.
Yeah, I'm also surprised because Molgames has been in a number of tournaments throughout this season, so they just hasn't had one that's had out there somewhere, or Trackmania, it seems, that they've decided to join. But hopefully today's going to change that. They're on stream here, so I think that means they're locked in. They they come hell or high water, they have to race these games now. So the first one is going to be Minit, a lovely top-down adventure game with totally stark black and white, like not even. Well, maybe there's some gray in there. No, I think they they do the cross shading with the black and white squares to create the illusion of gray, but it's strictly black and white. Fun sense of humor, and in terms of speedrunning, it's a game of micro optimizations.
It's all about getting that feel for those movements in those top-down adventure games like Zelda. You know, the start of A Link to the Past, where you optimize the part in the dark at the start of the game. That's exactly it. It's 5 minutes of optimization of just tight movement, trying to get the diagonals as precisely as you can, and 2 minutes of boss fights, leading to a 7-minute speedrun. The most intense part of the speedrun is that it's very dangerous to die. You are always on the edge of losing about 40 seconds somewhere, especially at the end, so you have to be super careful, especially with considering the route the players are taking. Molgames is showing that they're not going to pick up the flashlight, so they're going to have to travel a lot of parts and rooms in the dark, and that means relying purely on tight execution and setups and cues.
Yeah, I totally am not surprised to see someone practicing the darkroom section at the beginning. We've seen some pretty strong runners get caught by this in a race, and it can be really frustrating and nerve-wracking, and you can enter panic mode when you're trying to literally navigate blind through this room. You're listening for audio cues, and you're not hearing what you're supposed to hear, and now you have no idea where you are, and oh my gosh, what do? I reset, I try again. Now you're frazzled, and you're thinking about, what did I do wrong last time? Should I do something differently this time, or should I always just do it the way that I practiced? It can be pretty bad if that doesn't go your way. So the race is off with no one starting with each other. The stream delay is all over the place. I can't tell if Molgames is way ahead or way behind. I thought they were doing one last practice run, but I think they are. Actually, this is their run, so they appear to be much further ahead than everyone else. But so far, I'm seeing mostly everyone's got through the dark cave here. Taker and Molgames certainly. Ghost Death now has as well. Sadly, just grabbing the watering can.
Oh, Molgames is being confused. The race started preemptively. No admin were locking the race, so it started and surprised everybody.
Oh.
But it's okay. We are here. And into the race, into the desert. Ghost Death is going to go back and forth with the screen to get into the lost oasis. You have to kill that ghost, and it's not going to be vulnerable until you destroy all those trees. That's why there's a tight route to do that. It's pretty precise. Every room has its fair share of optimization, considering it's all down to frames and seconds everywhere.
Sadly, for example, had to wait a little bit longer for that ghost to move closer to shore so that they could attack it, kill it, get that sword upgrade. And you can do little things to sort of control where that ghost goes so that it reaches the shore more quickly. You can kill it just a little bit sooner. You might feel like you did that perfectly, but really there's always some way to go just a little bit faster. And it adds up to seconds over the course of a run, and it's the reason why when you're stuck at 8 minutes and you're looking at all these people who somehow got down to 7 minutes and it seems impossible, it's all these tiny little things all over the place.
Yeah, Taker's PB is almost sub 7 minutes, which is insane considering it's so difficult to go from the deathless at around 7:45 and then saving times. Each run, you will try to save a second or two, and it will add up considering you are dying 14 or 15 times throughout the run. So there's time to save everywhere, but it's hard to know exactly where that is.
Yeah, that is the sort of the next level you get to when you start speedrunning this game. Taker's going to be the first one to rescue the scuba diver here. He goes up on top of the hotel. The pool is closed, though. It won't be open until we save, or rather fill up the hotel to occupancy, which means we need to go find a bunch of guests. This fellow here has fallen in with the Leaf Gang, but when you remove the criminal element here, he seems to just fall in line, so he'll go back to the hotel. We got this guy who you got to push to find his lost credit card, which is right there, and it's not so easy to push this thing so precisely. So that was pretty decently done by Taker. I think he had 29 seconds on the clock leaving that screen, which means you're doing pretty good through that section.
Yeah, that's a very good way of noticing where you're gaining or saving time. That clock is going to run from 60 as soon as you spawn, and decreasing every second, and just trying to be on par with those times Taker are putting here is pretty tricky. Their in-game timer is at 3:25, meaning that they're a bit ahead of Ghost Test, but not much. Sablier as well. With those two, it's pretty hard to say. Small Games at 2:30 in-game time here. The time discrepancy is not going to matter too much in the end anyway.
Yep, it'll just take a little bit longer before we get Milgames's results, but we will get them as they as the race was run. What their time is on that clock is going to be what gets added to the leaderboard. Ghost Death also succeeding like Taker did in blowing up the bombs in the dark. It's what Sablier is trying to do. It did actually just do. There are 2 bombs that need to be detonated to blow up the walls. If you're next to the bomb when you blow it up, it's going to blow you up. So you need to be far away and throw your sword, but trying to find where it is and where you are in the dark can be pretty tricky. And it costs you a lot of time. If you die, you got to go all the way, over to the pipe and then around in the dark and then into the other screen. And it's a pretty easy way to lose a chunk of time.
Yeah, those are the very, very costly death. Taker and Sablier are exactly at the same spot here, meaning that Sablier is 20 seconds ahead. No, okay, they're at the same spot, but Taker has already broken the machine. I got confused for a second because you go backtracking so much in just exactly that moment in Minit. Anyways, Taker is breaking the second machine by pushing all those buttons and moving onwards. You try to do a lot during those 11th and 12th run here. Breaking down the machine and going down to get your sword stuck into the final gear down there. That's a lot, and you have to go as fast as possible because notice the timer. Taker died at 9 minutes remaining. 9 seconds.
He's got the watering can now. He's hustling back to where his sword is. He's lost it. It's jammed in the gears that stopped the evil mechanism churning out these cursed swords. It's also on fire, so that's what the watering can is going to help with. Ostensibly, I feel like it's maybe a little bit much for a poor little watering can, but if it's got enough water in there to save our friend in the desert from before, I guess it has enough to put out this fire. It will also power up your sword. It tempers it, I suppose, and gives you the mega sword you need to break the final machine and initiate the final boss sequence. But you need to really hustle here. Getting the sword at 18 is pretty darn good. It's going to have plenty of time after breaking this to get through the entire cutscene, because otherwise he will have to come all the way back, and that is a huge time loss.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow, you got a weird push on those crates. You don't want to push them in onto the walls because you have to get them stuck. 18 is almost too much because you want to die here and Taker. I don't know if that saves a lot that much time compared to just getting the regular 15 or 16s. That's just exactly what's needed. But on to phase 2 here, you're going to chase down the swords, and the one that will light up is the furthest one, so it's pretty annoying to chase those down. The Taker does a great job at not dying here, which is not so easy. The second phase has killed a lot of drones.
It was kind of stuck at the top of the screen. We see most players wanting to be at the bottom, and I'm honestly not sure if there's a strict advantage to being on the bottom part of the screen. Does die here. Trying to actually move around in this boss fight is actually incredibly difficult. There's swords all over the place coming from in the middle, as well as the outsides that you can't see because they skipped picking up the flashlight. So very, very dark in this area. Just kind of relying on the sword to slash any swords coming at you, and then throwing it to actually deal the damage. He's landed the last hit here, has Taker. We'll get the final time in just a little moment. Ghost Death is also starting this fight here with 7:13 on the clock. Sablier has 7:05 on theirs.
Ghost Death die, and they gathered the sword so well, they would have had a very, very good second phase. And Taker gets a 7:12. That's a fantastic time. That's very, very good.
7:01, I think, is the fastest time on the leaderboard. I think probably early on into the season, 7:12 would have been the top spot. Like it took a little bit of people, really pushing to get it down to where it is. 7:12 is a monstrously good time. We'll see how it compares to where everyone else ends up. Sadly, has finished. Ghost Death has also finished, just waiting for the last few sequences to play out. Whereas Molgames, who got the late start, has 7:14 on the clock, starting the first phase now.
Right, time passes, and intentional death here, trying to move around without getting hit by those beams is pretty difficult. Molgames is going to finish the first phase at 7:30. I don't know what happened exactly to Molgames, but they've lost a lot of time somewhere.
Yeah, we had 7:41 and 7:51 were the finishes for Sablier and Ghost Death, respectively. So, we're already about to tick over both of those times, and we're not even into the final phase yet. But Molgames is doing a pretty good job of corralling the swords around. I think took a hit there, yeah. But had 3 swords all next to each other, so that even the one that's furthest away is actually still pretty close. So not having to run around and chase those swords down is a pretty big advantage. Not dying there, though, definitely disadvantage.
Yeah, that costs a lot of time. You have to wait for the whirlwind of swords to start up again, and considering their time and 16 runs, they probably died somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but lost way more time than expected, considering their 7:22 PB.
Well, Minit has always been one of the better games for Molgames, so I'm sure this is not how they wanted to start out their tournament here today. It's going to be about an 8:29 once this final time comes in. Yeah, that's a fair time, but against literally some of the best again Molgames is playing today. Better is going to be required, and honestly, I'm sure they're not happy with this time overall. I think they feel like they could probably do better here, and it just got away from them a little bit.
Yeah, it is a tough game to rate, though, because just a single death will cost you a lot, and getting stuck on the dark boards or just having a bad boss in general will cost you a lot. And just considering Taker with 7:12 did not die less than Double T4 and the Shepard at the top of the leaderboard here, but just saved 3 extra points. And then Sablier, we've seen their run, they were up there with Taker for most of the run, ends up at 7:41.
We can see a lot of other names here on the leaderboard. Devil Tifa and ND Shepard are tied for second. Familiar names there near the top. Sablier came in 4th, just a little bit ahead of Fireman in 5th, who is tied with Tilgar for that position. 7th going to Meredith, who is a runner who doesn't play all the games, but has focused on a couple and does really well at those few, and Minit is one of them, so that's why you'll see them tied with Ghost Death in 7th, Lirami in 9th, and rounding out our top 10 is KTH, who's just a little bit shy of that 200-point mark.
How do you feel if you're KTH finishing at 8:04, considering you're one of the qualified runners, and the grand finals are happening in 3 weeks only? So I don't know. Obviously, you do as well as you can, but it's weird to see them so down low here, 11th place. Obviously, you can have like bad runs, and in the end, it's all 10 games in a row that matters. But I'm surprised. And same goes for Andy Shepard or Ghostdes or Sablier, doing great on a lot of races since the beginning of UD7, and not able to perform so well on multiple games in a row.
Yeah, well, that's it's almost testing a different skill at that point. Your ability to not only just last for 4 hours or 4.5 hours or however long it is, but you know, switching from game to game. Your first game, you could have been practicing this game before the race started and got into a groove with this game, but you know, next is a totally different game. So you have to be able to fall into everything that you learned and practiced incredibly quickly. And you know, if this was a game that you had been running for a long time and you were like, you came back to it, maybe you could de-rust and, you know, you're there. The speed run is in your bones. It's not going to go away. But in this situation, in the Ultimate Decathlon, you have to learn so many games so quickly. That doesn't really happen. You know, you're constantly having to juggle which games are kind of in your focus right now. And it can be very, very hard to execute on that level that you maybe feel like you could reach when you have to do all 10 in a row. You can see here, next game that we're going to be playing is going to be out there somewhere.
It is the game that proved to be one of the hardest, considering the difference between the best time on the UD leaderboard and the actual world record. The game is insanely hard to optimize and not die. You have so many things to do and so many little skips to execute on perfectly. But those 2 out of bounds at the start of the game, Sablier is currently practicing on those. And that's totally understandable, because those are very, very tricky.
I wonder what kind of strats we'll see from everyone. Probably, since we're looking at some of the best players in the Ultimate Decathlon, I won't be too surprised to see everyone going all out on some of these out-of-bounds strats. The first one certainly is you know, pretty easily worth it. You can afford to fail it a couple times. The second one, you need to get it pretty quick in order to really save time with it and get some benefit out of it. So we have seen players opt to not do it. But I think even for the second one, we have seen more players doing that than not. So we'll be expecting to see quite a bit of it here today. Taker's already choosing to practice the first out of bounds here, which is a smart choice, I think, if you're going to practice anything. This is one of the most difficult things to get going in the run, and is one of the most important.
Did he just burn his first try? Because that went so well, and then did not go get it. Oh wow, okay. Nice. That's a very... Actually, like, being there at 50% or 60% of the time is very, very difficult. You have two frames perfect inputs to make, and those are very, very tricky because there are few visual cues. Once you're up there teleporting, you cannot wait, you cannot set up. You have to have the timing down your bones and your nerves, and that can be pretty hard. It's like executing those zips in Mega Man 2. Sometimes you're in there and you don't have the rhythm exactly down, and I don't know. It's a few tricks do that in speedrunning, and they're pretty cool to nail on first try, to be honest.
Yeah, that was. I really hopefully he's able to reproduce that. He's found a different way to get into the rhythm with this game here. Has Taker on the menu. Gotta respect. I'm always like a half a beat behind whenever I try to do this. I don't know if it's like speaking to the delay I have in like my headphones or my controller or something, but I'm always like in between the notes whenever I try to do something to music like this. So I always appreciate when players can do it pretty well, like we're seeing there. Molgames is almost done practicing. Pretty sure this race is just about to start. This is, like you said, a very tough game to optimize. There's a lot of really, really precise stuff, and we've seen players like, you have to be good at the individual tricks, but you also need to be good at like minimizing when they go bad. Like, if you don't get the first out of bounds, you're gonna fall down, right? So like, what's the best way to recover from that fall? Where do you shoot your teleport gun to, as quick as possible, try again?
Players are guessing how many places they will lose because of out there somewhere in chat, and the race is going to start just now. Sablier and Taker are both very, very good at out there somewhere, sub 7 PB, and that's super impressive, and we'll see how well they can execute live on the game, considering how precise those tricks are. To come cold into out there somewhere, this is probably one of the worst game in the UD, just to race in between two other games.
Yeah, maybe we've got 3 games here that we've prepared to be like the worst, most difficult 3-game pack, perhaps, which is maybe fitting because we're getting pretty late into the season now. People are starting to think about qualifying. Of course, certainly we had the first qualifying tournament. There's still a last chance for players to qualify as everyone gets going on the first set of bounds here. Taker not getting the first try, not getting the second try. Sablier as well on multiple tries, not quite getting it. Molgames, not everyone is just getting wall. Okay, Taker's the first one to get on top.
But entering there at 38 seconds mean that you've almost saved nothing compared to just going all the way around. Everybody gets it! Molgames goes this at the same time, and Sablier is stuck behind. Molgames and Gosdes are about 12 seconds behind Taker, and Sablier is still stuck there. What's happening? They got it during the just the intro while setting up, and now finally! But that's so late behind Taker, Molgames and Gosdes onto the second out of bound already.
Yeah, and this is, remember, these are just the 4 players we have on stream. There's a number of very strong players racing off stream, and Sablier is going to appear behind these guys, but everyone got stuck there, so who knows how far along everyone else is, or did everyone get stuck? Did the first out of bounds here come to play really hard in today's tournament and get the best of as many players as possible? We can only wait and see. Taker's going to be the first one to reach the city, the place where all the aliens have their happy little homes, and then there's a dangerously not so happy home with a gun in the basement waiting to be totally unguarded, not locked up or anything, and you can walk in and take it, use it to destroy blocks and defeat enemies.
And the destroy blocks part matters a lot, and it's going to help solve puzzles. And the game is all about those tiny tricks and rooms. And speedrunning doesn't show much of those. If you are interested, the game is available on Steam, and we're just in the 80% speedrun like that, doing maybe like 20% of the game, and all the rooms we're going through have very, very specific techniques to go as fast as possible. Gosdes is onto probably my least favorite room that killed me the most in my speedruns, just because it's very difficult to navigate between those enemies. Gosdes did not go for the third HP. Sablier is going for it, and Molgames did not take it. So 2 teams, upper side of the screen or bottom side of the screen, decided to do 2 different routes. I'm not sure how much the third HP is going to matter for Sablier and Taker. You only take that in a speedrun if you want to go for some damage boost of bigger enemies.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just want like an extra cushion of safety, but I think we're at the level where absolutely that is the case. But if they're picking this up, they're getting it because it's a resource. Taker got up past this enemy here, which is the hard part, and then slipped down afterwards on the easy part. So a bit of a shame, but has managed to recover. We're getting our look at some green beams here, which will sort of capture your teleport gun. I don't think we've explicitly said in the past 4 minutes what the players have been doing to move around here, but wherever they shoot their gun, they teleport to. And the green beam, the blue beam will catch you and let you teleport. The red one will just eat the projectile totally. The green one will catch it and send it up into the ceiling. and this is used, just to get wherever the beam is up top. But it can also give you a frame perfect jump at the top to curl around to whatever is blocking the beam from above, and this ends up having some implications in some pretty difficult tricks that will get you through things a little faster. Taker shooting the teleport off the reflecting block there. I haven't seen that before.
They dodged all the checkpoints, allowing them for a nice death warp. And on the right side of the screen, we have a nice sync between Molgamis and Sablier. So Sablier caught up Molgamis, even though they lost about 15 seconds at the start. But Taker is way in the lead. Ghostdeath is just a few seconds ahead of Molgamis and Sablier here. Taker is triggering the second dialogue here, opening the doorways into Sector 3 through the all the set of rooms they're into. And Taker is actually going for some very advanced strats. It doesn't look like it because every optimization is fairly invisible, because the movement is mostly down to your projectile teleporting you, but except for that, you can optimize all your jumps and trajectories to save even more time everywhere.
Taker getting into some pretty annoying spots here. He damages through this guy, but here we have one of these green beam jumps, and he doesn't quite get it on the first try. He was first try on that out of bounds the first time around, and then it seems like now he's not going to get first try on anything. We'll see if he's able to get some of the last few skips here that are left.
Sablier gets the first cycle on the way back, and actually passes both Molgamis and Ghostdeath. Taker is not going to go for the damage boost here. Nope. Oh, yes, he did, but missed it again, and he's actually going to reset the room and then die onto the ghost, losing a lot of time on those set of rooms here.
Yeah, this is much slower than if he had just done it the sort of intended way here. But it is not going to work again. The other players are catching up. Sablier is just below him. He's now past him.
Yeah, the trick Taker is going for is a frame perfect jump off damage boosting on that enemy, but it's just so tricky. Actually, Sablier going for the safer strat is saving a lot of time compared to Taker. So is Ghostdeath, and Molgamis is stuck on the weird room here, and Molgamis gets their projectile stuck on the ghost, triggering a new dialogue. Those dialogue, especially at the start of the game, are pretty annoying, appearing exactly at the wrong time all the time.
Yeah, the way they totally phrase the game is genuinely off-putting for some reason. I know there's probably lots of games that do that, but for some reason in this game, I absolutely agree. It is just a little bit infuriating. Sablier has already executed the skip. First try here for Taker and Ghostdeath as well. This is skipping a couple screens here. Pretty complicated set of teleports there to put yourself up top, but then putting yourself somewhere else first so that you can be on solid ground to jump as soon as you teleport. They've now ascended into the boss fight here. Sablier shooting right, shooting left, 3 shots, counting them out. Oh no! Has missed 1, so is going to get a projectile here that's going to actually hit them, but they are going to be able to take that shot and finish off the boss.
Very good. The way to do that boss as fast as that is to keep your auto fire going, and but you have to time your jump very precisely or you will miss the boss. But Sablier gets a fantastic run here. Sadly lost a lot of time at the start of the run, but passed everybody else and dies on the final boss. How
was that boss not dead? He was mashing so hard.
Oh wow, Taker actually taking the upper hand right at the end here. I don't know, I think Sablier collided with the boss, and finally Sablier is 3 seconds behind Taker, exactly tied with Ghostdeath.
Wow, what a finish. I cannot believe that boss was not dead. I was sure it was going to be dead like a second before Sablier died, and I was like, wow, it's still dead. Wow, it's still dead. Wow, it's not. Wow, what? Crazy. I've never seen someone be so accurate and fast with their shots, and then not close out that fight by that point. So I'm pretty sure they caught Sablier by surprise as well, and that's why they ended up flying right into the boss. They must have been so sure that it was going to die Oh, speaking of death, Mulgames here, late into the boss fight, the first phase here, or I guess it's technically a separate fight, but it's the same guy. So, but yeah, that's a big setback.
Yeah, dying here is pretty unusual because knowing their patterns, you can manipulate the boss pretty hard. But if you are too slow or if you miss a shot, you have even more things to do, and that can be pretty difficult to adapt to. All right, Mogamis. Onto I totally forgot there was a green beam phase here, but apparently there is, and a few more shots. One exactly does it, and onto the next and final part is Molgamis.
Picking up the orb here, 9:13 already on the clock. Mulgames's PB in this game is 7:22. It's 15th on the leaderboard. It's their best game of the three today, so I'm sure they're not feeling too thrilled about some of the stuff that happened in this run. We'll see if they can close it out. They're pretty low on health there. They're going to have to do quite a lot of dodging. Cannot get hit by anything now. 1 health left. The boss must be pretty low. Go. Nice clutching it out.
It's very difficult to mash correctly on that boss. I did not quite figure it out how the world record does it so quickly, but here we go. And lots of player are done already. Devil Tifa, Taker, Devil Tifa actually passing Taker. Leremy getting a 2:09. How? What was the final time? 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Incredible to do. So close to their PB.
Wow, that's going to jump them all the way up to third. Also, we can see now Devil Tifa sort of supplanted Taker here. Taker seemed completely unstoppable during the first chance qualifying tournament. So seeing Taker be stoppable is pretty nice in terms of just seeing some competition. So this is pretty cool. 2 points ahead currently. And then Larumi, like you said, in third place. KTH also answering back, jumping out from 11th, I think it was, all the way up to 4th, showing why they qualified already. They do have what it takes to persevere, even in the face of a time that it's not even that bad, really. 199 points on Minit. It's just just a little bit worse than they could have been, but bouncing back all the same. Sablia and Ghost Death are in 5th and 6th, which would have qualified them before, but today playing for stars, the cutoff is really more about like 3rd or maybe 1st, but either way, they're very firmly in the top 10 and very close to supplanting one of these top 3 players.
Mulligan was falling down to the 12th place, though. It's pretty tough. Thorgaran, we haven't seen too much of them, but in a few tournaments, and still up there. Little Mai is one of the best runners we have, but it's so difficult to shine in UD7 because a lot of players are very, 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 very good on many, many games, and almost all 10 of them for most of our top runners. And now it seems impossible to just shine a little bit more. But Ghost is one of those players. 6th place here, Sablier 5th, and now it feels like everybody is going to be, everything is possible on the Messenger. But considering PBs, Devil Tifa, Taker, and Skunkov are amongst the best. So we'll see, but Ghost Death is up there as well. That's the 7th place for them, so Ghost Death could get on top 3 there.
Sadly, as well, has a 33.35. It is 9 seconds slower than Ghost Death, but I think due to the way the points work on the Messenger, I think actually has the same point score of 212 in that game. So both of them have a really good shot at jumping up a couple places here. It's going to be difficult against KTH, Lurimi, Taker, and Devil Tifa, but certainly possible. And the Messenger's just a long game, so there's a lot that can happen. We've seen deaths in pretty much every major zone. Maybe not deaths in, say, Bamboo Creek, but certainly there's some big skips that you can miss. So when you take so much damage from spikes and to get so little health from all the checkpoints, the fact that you'll still get one shot by spikes, even after you're at what is kind of full health. If you do fall below 3, you're not going to get back up very likely. So Very, very easy to die to spikes. There's plenty of spikes in that game, and deaths cost a whole lot. So it means that, anything can happen. And I'm pretty excited to see how this weekend tournament wraps up here.
It's hard to say. It's hard to give just to bet on anyone, because Death Taker and Devil Tifa are probably your safe bets. But I do root for Sadly. I want them to perform as well as they can on the Messenger. They told in Discord earlier that with Mega Man X, the Messenger was the one of their favorite of all time, UD all times, from UD2 since UD2. The Messenger is a fan favorite, so we'll see. Definitely a fantastic game to speedrun and to learn and to execute on. And each time I go on in a stream of someone speedrunning the Messenger, I learn new stuff, new strats, new ways of moving. It's a very dense speedrun, especially once you have all the dive attack and then the grappling hook. You can do so much.
Yeah, it's a shame that they come in on the fourth and fifth worlds in that game, but you do get a fair amount of time to play around with it in the speedrun. You can go ahead and take a look at it now. Lovely platforming game. A lot of people compare it to Ninja Gaiden, but Twin will disagree in how it feels to actually play the game. Doesn't quite feel like a Ninja Gaiden. I see where he's coming from, but when that ninja's moving and he's slashing without stopping,
the jumps.
It's the first thing that comes to my mind.
The jump sprites are definitely very Ninja Gaiden, and the way the ninja runs as well. But yeah, it doesn't feel quite the same. Let's say that I love Ninja Gaiden as a game and a speedrun. I think they're fantastic platformers, but I like the fact that you don't stop when slashing, because those mandatory jumps you have to do in Castlevania can get weird things happening, and it's so cool to be able to run and kill people at the same time. But the Messenger, the category is 8-bit no out of bound. The world record, I don't know if it has changed, but it was 31:43 when UD started.
I think it has gone down a little bit, actually. I'm curious.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a tournament going on plus the UD. So when a bunch of people get excited about a game and start playing it, these things just happen. All
right.
The slashing while moving is that is one of the biggest keys to contributing to the amazing sense of flow that this game has. It just feels so natural to just run around and slash and jump and slash and jump and slash and jump, and the way that this game works. So you really do feel like you have so much control over how you move around on the screen.
So 4 days ago, Kuningas got a 30-54, and actually 6 players are under 31:43 now, with Heather at 31:49 in the 7th place. So the time has come down since then. I'm not surprised. There's a tournament happening on Speed Gaming currently, and a lot of players are still learning, playing, practicing the game. So it's not surprising. But Taker is on the overall leaderboard in the 9th place. That's impressive.
Yeah, that is, for a game as dense as this one, that hasn't been out for years and years, but has been out long enough that people have been able to sink their teeth into it. To do so well at 9 other games and then do that well at this game is truly remarkable. You can see they've set their name to 31:30, so they've set a goal for themselves. We had Ghost Death has opted for the more traditional name to enter on the title screen. We've seen a couple people have some fun with this, just expressing themselves through their color palettes on Kirby. It's nice.
Yeah, lots of ways to show everyone who you are really. Taker putting 31:30. That seems pretty difficult. And Sablier's name means fourth place, so they're expecting to end up there, which would be pretty nice actually, because Devil Tifa, Taker, Ghost Death, Skunkov, Sablier all very good players at the Messenger, so maybe showing confidence or just lack of confidence. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it all depends on your frame of reference. I think playing among, you listed off like 7 or 8 really strong players, and beating out 4 of them, I think is something you should be pretty happy about. But perhaps you're thinking about the 3 that beat you and earned the silver stars instead of you on this tournament. All depends on your frame of reference. I've noticed speedrunners tend to be a pessimistic bunch, so I've got my hunch as to which way Sablé is leaning with this name. But whatever gets them motivated here is what I'm really rooting for.
All right, so on to the actual start of the game. The first 2 minutes feels a bit underwhelming because you just have to wait for the story to unfold, but we're getting there because they started a bit late, about 20 seconds late. I'm not sure if stream delay is going not to impede. I'm sure that the stream delay is not going to impede their run, but it's going to be hard to have a good frame of reference between them and Taker and Sablier, but we'll see. So far, all the players are exactly tied because you move exactly at the same speed whatever you do, and now onto all those jumps and all those enemies that are going to save you or cost you a little bit of time. Taker getting the time to go on those left and right slashes to get pushed a little bit. This is the first time I actually see them execute on those strats.
That is you have to work really hard to save time with strats like that. It's like the backdashes we were seeing in Aria of Sorrow in Season 6. I was very surprised when people started doing that in the season, and I'm pretty surprised to see Taker doing it now. But when you're going for 31:30, I guess these are the kinds of little things that you start looking for to pick out just a couple more seconds to save. Currently, all 3 players who were not on any sort of stream delay were very close to each other. Molgames took a hit here and there and has dropped back a little bit, and Taker, through some incredibly small optimizations, has got like maybe a second ahead of Sablier, but overall no major mistakes. Opportunity for that here. Taker getting the damage boost, Sablier getting the damage boost. Molgames, are they going to go for it? They are.
So jumping a little
backwards.
bit too late and being knocked backward, yeah. You have to land exactly on the correct part of the tile to get pushed forward and not backward, and the reference is with the ledge. So a very, very close still between all those 3, but Molgames is going to be just a little bit behind. Ghost Death Games has crashed, is going to restart, so there's going to be about a 5 minutes delay, but it's a fun tournament. It's not going to be too bad, and here we go. So don't worry about them, they're just going to be behind, but their final time is going to be adjusted, obviously.
Taker is going to be the first one out of this swimming section. Both him and Sablier took damage boost off of the saw. Looks like Molgames is going to do the same. Drops them down pretty low, but there are some health refills available. Taker going over the spike wall with the blue projectile throwing guy. That is a pretty difficult strat for a favorite time savings, not having to get in the water. You do slow down quite a bit with the water. Slashing at that little firefly thing from behind is a really nice way to get that height there. Sablier having to do a little left-right turnaround there, but is doing their best to try to keep up with Taker, who's pulling away just through all these little things here and there.
Yeah, the spike wall jump is very, very good to save a little bit of time, because swimming feels not too bad in the game, to be honest, but just very slow. So saving enough time to be 1 full room ahead of Sablier. Now is Taker, and Molgames is just 1 room behind Sablier. So the places are starting to show just a little bit. And the first world always feels very long because there are so many screens and lots of tight rooms you have to navigate. Everything opens up just a little bit after level 2. But level 2 is way harder for various different reasons. The players are showing with the cloud step of the lanterns that you can double cloud step by jumping and re-slashing at the same time to keep your double jump active. The players are going to do that all the times, allowing them to gain a lot of height off a single lantern.
Molgamus had a different approach to the room with the swing in it. Actually waited and was less concerned about making the first cycle, and even using the platform was actually cloud stepping off of a projectile and not landing on the platform at all, which makes that room, gives you a lot of breathing room in that room without losing too much time. Taker here going for the quick kill, dumping the shurikens in on the boss, gives you the extra damage you need to get in there. You just need to make sure you don't let up on your slashes. Keep hitting that button. Worry more about that than hitting your shurikens as fast as possible, because you have plenty of time to get those. What you're really concerned about is getting the most damage out of your sword as possible.
Yeah, if you just stop slashing for just a little bit, like Molgamus maybe did. No, okay, they're good. And I got scared for a little bit. The start is especially important. The boss is going to be knocked back just a little bit, and you have to press forward just a little bit more to be sure to... Oh my god, Ghost is falling down, and you don't have the closed quite yet, so you cannot hang on those walls still before you speak to that merchant here.
We're looking at 4 of 18, 19 competitors, I think, who are playing today. I think I can...
17 got times.
So yeah, so far. There's also 4 other players who might pop in here for the final game, I'm not sure. But we're off to the Catacombs now, the second world. Gets just kind of more deadly. I don't know, there's more pits and spikes and crushers and things, so it gets... I think we've seen probably more deaths here than any other. Maybe that's not quite right. There's an awful lot of pits later on in the game, but it's considerably more deadly than the first world.
The crushers do get you, and the spikes, the spikes on chains, and all those things that deal a lot of damage will eventually get you. Taker swimming in between those saw blades, no problem. The Sablier is right behind them, and Molgamus is keeping pace with those two, but do remember that Molgamus PB is about 5 minutes behind Sabliers and Takers, so it is a feat to keep racing with Sablier and Taker up there. Ghostdeath is on par with them, but had a delay at the start, so it's the race is still ongoing, but in the past.
That's right. It just makes it a little hard for us to live compare where they are. Maybe we should try to... no, there is no timer running, so we don't get to look at that either. So, unfortunately, we'll just have to guess, just have to see. His play looks good so far. So, is that a 30s worth of good-looking play, or is it more like a 34? I don't have that eye, admittedly. So, we'll just probably have to wait and see. Taker took a bit of extra damage, so detouring for a health refill from that lantern. Good knowledge there. Of course, then missing the health, going for some damage boosts on some of these spikes.
Yeah, everybody is going for that at that skill level, because you want to damage boost as much as you can of the spikes. Waiting for just one cycle of a swing platform is too much. Taker having, a decent RNG here. Not chasing those mage will cost you time, so... Here we go. Oh, Sablier is going to use 2 shurikens, one up there and one down, and make it nicely. So Taker with the damage boost of the spikes, just one room ahead of Sablier still, so Sablier is keeping pace with him. Molgamus onto the mage's room. Let's see what kind of spawn they have. The spawn is always the same. It's the first movement that is not.
Yeah, you want you would rather not have that high spawn, because if it's low and far, you can use your shurikens. If it's close, you can slash it. But if it's up high, you're going to have to take the time to jump up and get him. So one of the worst results there. Taker is going for this quick cycle here on the platform. Had like kind of a lot of room actually there. Normally, if you do get it, it's really close. Sadly, I got hung up on that ledge there, so probably is smartly going to wait.
That's going to cost them about 4 seconds, so it's not too much. But it's always having to wait in a speedrun. It feels like a minute always. Like even if it's just a half a second you've lost, you feel like it's awful. But Taker is having the correct pattern here. Is going to save a lot of time if the others don't have the correct RNG.
There's two different patterns you can get there, the high or low. Capitalizing on the high here is Sablier getting up there, using multiple cloud steps off of those projectiles that rain down to get up high and deal a ton of damage, and then getting the last hit there. Pretty much perfect here from both Taker and Sablier. We'll see if Mulgamis is able to follow suit.
Mulgamis under the fights, skipping the dialogue quickly, and Ghostess is going to enter the second level. I don't know. We need to get a frame of reference. Okay, Sablier is leaving Catacombs at 10:54, so we'll see exactly where Ghostess is, but it's once again impossible to compare. And then to Bamboo's Creek, one of the better soundtrack and one of the most relaxing levels if you're playing casually. If you're going for a speedrun, the level is actually quite tricky because all of the skips you can go for.
Yeah, they're kind of all over the place, and they're pretty tricky, especially because they're in like some really big rooms, some of the biggest rooms in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Like even outside of this category, even can't think of a room quite as big as the one with the pair of skips. And it does mean that if you mess it up, you're probably going to fall pretty far down. So it's can be pretty punishing. One of the biggest mistakes you can make that isn't a death is probably failing some of those skips in that room. And it's coming up in just a little bit. There is also a skip over the top here. Using a cloud step to get on top of that is a nice alternative than trying to get the really precise jump on top that we've seen be a problem for some players in the past. But Taker getting it pretty nicely there.
Yeah, no problem for them. Sablier goes for the precise jumps and gets it nicely. And then cloud stepping off those fireballs. Nice job. And onto that big room. Taker is not going for the skip, so smart play. It's not saving much time, but if you do try to go for it and you fail, you're going to lose a lot. So might as well just know your limit and not push them too far. Sablier is trying to go for the skip, but misses it, but not too bad. So they will move on. So Sablier is having a rough Bamboo's Creek here, letting Taker take the advantage, the lead quite a bit more than they had on the Catacombs.
Second try on the follow-up skip, losing to Taker in that by one attempt. Taker flying through and making it look a lot easier than it is. It's actually not so easy at all to get just enough, get far enough down that you don't bonk your head, but then also getting enough height that you can continue to wall jump and cloud step your way around that corner. But getting a second try after failing the first try is pretty good. I feel like you either get it first try or you're stuck there for a while doing it multiple times. So being able to correct yourself right away is pretty good. Mulgamis is not quite going to get the height on the first try, and then now the bonk, and that, yeah, see, this is more like what I typically see. But doing a pretty good job of recovering as well. Running out of things to cloud step off of, so it's going to need to go the long way here.
All right, showing off for once the actual intended path. Sablier is about 30 seconds behind Taker. So, it's okay. It's okay to be close to Taker, considering their impressive skill level. And anything can happen. A lot of even the best players might die on the later levels, and you just want to go for as good as you can. Anyway, Sablier unlocking the dive attack as the Taker just a few seconds earlier. One of the better upgrades. And once you have the wingsuit, you want to be able to attack and. In the meantime, to get a boost of height and to be able to cloud step off anything pretty much at that point, which felt pretty nice.
Yeah, being able to slash below you is a kind of game-changing thing once you get used to having to get used to the inputs to do it, because you are attacking while wingsuiting, which is when you're holding the jump button, you will do this little flip, and then you'll start falling slowly with your wingsuit, and so. You're basically, if you want to attack downwards, your inputs are to jump, hold, jump, and then attack. And it can be a little bit unintuitive, and it's not so easy to do it very quickly. Like if you suddenly find yourself falling and you want to do it, pressing and holding jump and slamming attack as fast as possible. Sometimes the attack comes out too early and you're not actually wingsuiting and all kinds of stuff. So it's a little finicky, but once you get the hang of it, it is incredibly useful for all kinds of things, and that let alone of course, for speedrunning. We also see the one use of the fast swim, the swim dash, with Taker there landing in that pond. Sablé is going to do it in just a little bit. Jumping out of it afterwards, though, to continue the speed all the way through to the end of the screen is just a nice flashy touch.
Alright, so Ghostdeath is about 4 minutes and a half behind. We'll see at the end of Bamboo Creek where he is. Taker is almost down with the grottos, which it's not the worst level. I think it's one of the easiest because you don't have too many instant death trap, and you have so many upgrades at that point to save yourself from any mistakes with the dive attack and just the hovering. It feels pretty nice. Plus the boss is pretty easy once you know how to two-cycle it.
I have such trouble counting to 7 on this boss for some reason, but it is something that most players have been doing very well. We'll see how it goes for Taker here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then now one last here with the shuriken from the outside of the screen means you get to quickly ride the air current, get up to the boss sooner, get more damage in on this phase. This is the key to getting 2 cycles.
And yeah, you just have to count down to 7. If you are struggling, you just can go a little bit slower, and you will end up still saving time and having a easier boss fight, because shorter means usually safer, and the boss can be deadly because those huge fists they have slamming the ground will get you sometimes with those weird patterns. Taker is struggling a little bit with the boss, and finally gets it with 1 HP left.
Yeah, I think they were kind of knew that they had the resources to take those hits, is because they knew it would let them get some more hits in, and was pretty sure the boss was going to die on that sort of final assault there, diving down on it. Sablé took great care to land just 1 extra hit and then not get hit by the skulls bouncing around. You'll see players usually perfectly willing to damage boost on the spiky hands, but Sablé taking a little bit of care there to keep their health up. They have 4 health going into the second phase, which is plenty. We'll see, though, if they might not need it, if they just get a really clean assault here. And yeah, that was pretty good on the second phase. Definitely better than Taker, catching up a little bit.
Alright, because this is almost done with the Bamboo Creek. I think they have saved a little bit of time on Sablé on that specific level. It went pretty bad for Sablé, so it's understandable. But once again, I say it goes bad, but those players are very top tier runners, so it's just minor optimization that did not go as well as intended. The Coolest from Mars now is a very linear level with the dive attack. The players are going to use that to just attack the lanterns and the enemies and dive and hover all the way through. The wingsuit is as fast as running or jumping or slashing. There is no tricky movement optimization regarding your speed, your movement speed. So it's all about getting there in the end. It doesn't matter how you do so. Indeed, Taker does a great job at that. Those ball spike can deal a lot of damage if you're not paying attention enough to them. So you'll see some players play a little bit safe around those, even though if you want to save time, you maybe should not. Taker has used wrongfully a shuriken, so went for the manually triggered that lever here to open the door.
Wolgames has missed the 2-cycle here, broke hit the 8th hit on the core while he was still in the middle, and tried to get the most damage that they could out of the top on that phase anyway, and see, like, maybe if I just hit it really hard, I can still get a 2-cycle. And you can see now they really pushed it. They can't get hit by anything, and they did not get their kill. So this is very, very scary. And yeah, it's so hard to deal with those after they're done their pattern. The way they settle back down, it's tricky.
Sadly, second death for Wolgames, so the return of Corbel, the red imp that follows us. If you die, you really don't want to see him in a speedrun, and it makes dying even more infuriating, sadly. So here we go. Corbel is going to be frightened by the boss, and it's going to disappear with a very cute animation here. But onto the Cruel from Marsh, Taker and Sablé are almost done actually with the level. Taker is going to have to take care of dodging that spiky platform up there. It can be tricky if you are too fast. Yep, and nice dodge here. We've seen some players actually do bonk their head into the spikes, so you have to remember they're there. And Taker is done, just the boss fights remains. Meanwhile, Sadlier is still about 30 to 40 seconds behind, so a little bit of time lost in some skips in level 1, some execution level 2 and 3, but still doing great. One final checkpoint will do it. Taker on the boss fight is going for kill the boss as fast as possible, gets the second skip here, and is going to kill the boss soon. Is going to have to dodge those whips attacks. And
yeah, the boss is basically dead. It's just window dressing at this point. It's just a big show. Shuriken there to get the final hit. It's going to be one dead boss for Taker. Also one for Molgames, who did indeed get the 2 cycle on the second try. We'll see how it goes for Ghost Death now. Opportunity to make up ground on at least Molgames. Difficult to say where they are relative to Taker and Sablé. We tried to keep track of a timestamp, but it was a real timestamp, so it didn't really help us figure out where Ghost Death is. But every time I look over at Ghost Death's screen, they seem to be doing quite well. So haven't noticed any major mistakes. I think probably it could surprise us actually at the end just how well their run is.
Yeah, it's all going to be down to, are they more or less than 4 minutes and a half behind Taker? We'll see. Sablier is still about 30 to 40 seconds behind, so that's actually a good closure march for them. Meanwhile, Ghost Death kills the Golem, and Molgames is just at the start of the closure march, but Taker has finally the grappling hook, the rope dart that allows you to move so quickly. Finally something that gets you faster.
Yeah, the wingsuit is nice that you don't go slow when you use it, but it's not speeding you up, not the way that the rope dart is. Rope darting off of absolutely everything here on this long hallway. Things that, you'd think maybe wouldn't normally be a target. Little walls that are sticking out, the stalactites that fall from the ceiling. All of it is fair game for your rope dart, and it's going to speed you up, so you're going to see that thing just come flying out and latching onto as many things as possible. But it does give you another button to hit on your controller. So, combining it with the wingsuit and your slashes and your jumps, it can be a little tricky to play really optimally with this thing.
Oh, you know what? The extra button. Finally, I got it. It clicked. The Messenger is what would have been Ninja Gaiden, but maybe on the SNES. Just a little bit later, and feeling at the same ID, but on a different system. I think
they did put out a SNES trilogy.
Yeah, but no.
That's like no, not that.
No, I mean like the same difference as Castlevania on the NES, and then Super Castlevania 4 on the Super NES. I think that's maybe something along those lines. I'm fine with. Anyway, just that description got Taker through the crags here and onto Cole and Osses, the two bosses you are going to have to kill. Fairly easy fight if you know what you're doing.
Sadly, it got hung up in a weird way there. Like, you got the skip on the second try through the platform, and then got just weirdly stuck on a wall, for kind of a long time. But yeah, Taker is in this boss fight using the rope dart for invincibility frames. Also, slashing the boss is going to kind of knock you back, so using the rope dart to pull yourself back in on the boss. Together, they make for a pretty powerful tool for dealing a bunch of damage, which is necessary because this boss just has so much health. And the rope dart really does make this fight so much easier than it maybe would be if you didn't have it. So a pretty big help here. Just getting a ton of damage in on the red guy. I think it's Seuss's. I've never seen, it was just the green guy, then the red guy, then they were dead. No other swapping. I feel like that was really lucky / really well done. I'm not sure, but yeah, seemed fast.
I don't know if the swapping between the bosses happens after a set time or a set of attacks, but Taker got a nice the forward dash attack from the red guy actually is pretty slow and allows you to hit them for a long time. We'll see what Sablier does, but Taker is onto the Glacial Peak already, and he's moving fairly fast. 25 minutes real time here. Usually when I started running the game, I was happy if at that point I finished the Quiltroom Marsh.
Right, yeah, these guys are on a totally different level. My PB is like 46 minutes currently. It's something I will definitely need to come back to because it's put to shame by what we're seeing here today by these players. I really, we've gotten to the point here in the season where we're starting to become a lot more used to the really high level of play. And we're starting to nitpick now. We're pointing out tiny little flaws, but it's important to step back and remind ourselves every now and then that, like, actually, this is really, really good in a really, really short amount of time. Sablier has now defeated Colas and Seuss's, is, a full, transition into this next world, and then, I don't know, 10 screens behind Taker, so has built a pretty significant lead, is looking to only build on it as they're totally flying through the Glacial Peak here.
Yeah, that's about a minute. That's still fairly good and normal considering Sablier and Taker's PB. We got commentating Yudi is a lucky spot because we are seeing all those runners actually improving in the course of a few months, and if we take for granted everything we see because we got into learning and racing those games at the same time. Oh wow, that's how they do it. Taker actually dive attack with the wind current, allowing them to skip by getting to a upper room. This is the first time I see that. I don't know when that strat came into play, but it's very, very nice.
Yeah, we saw this with the New Game Plus run, and we were like, oh, the Windmill Shuriken lets you get a Cloud Step in a place where you normally wouldn't. But totally proving us wrong here that no, it really is just the pure speed you get off of the wingsuit slash there. So very, very cool looking strat, and probably pretty difficult because you're just going upwards so fast that you don't even have a really good visual cue probably of where you need to be, and what the next screen is even going to look like. Sadly, almost getting hung up underneath a ceiling there, but was able to get back out from under it and recover as Taker is summoning the Tower of Time with the scroll and these weird robed figures who have tasked you with this mission. All get together and do the thing, as they say, actually, to summon this thing. It is the final trial. It is the last dungeon of the 8-bit goal, and it's a pretty big change from the rest of the game. It becomes a lot more tightly controlled with some very clear challenges set up, and it really the word gauntlet has been used before, and it seems perfect to describe this full dungeon here.
Yeah, it's a very big difficulty spike. A lot of casual players have been stuck here for a while after the game felt pretty easy, accessible. The game is not too harsh on the players. The Tower of Time is actually very, very difficult. I've watched Pikachu yesterday practicing those rooms, and there are crazy damage boost strats onto the mages to get through the lasers, and you can do crazy stuff, but it's either like super risky or not worth it. And actually Taker is maybe going for it and hesitating, and now they will just slowly
just doing a full loop around here. It was almost on top of the platform. You need to go under it, and when you're riding on the top, got kind of caught off guard there.
Resetting.
Wow.
Okay.
Just resetting the whole room.
But he went for the damage boost here.
Yeah, so the damage boost didn't work out, and then the recovery from that was not so good. But once he reached the other side of the screen, he could have slashed that crystal and then could have gone from there. But he decided to actually leave the screen and come back just to, it is going to reposition the enemies a little bit, but I almost feel like he was almost mentally resetting that room.
I think Taker has learned new strats and is trying to go for them because they've done a weird thing here. I'm not sure. I need to rewatch the World Record to be able to properly commentate on those strats, because the Tower of Time is a crazy place. Taker here hitting the pink crystal through the wall to save a little bit more time through those rooms. Those are very, very difficult rooms, to be honest.
They really, yeah, most rooms in the Tower of Time are very, very difficult rooms. Taker's going to do a pretty controlled fall here next to these spikes blocking all the lasers. I can't quite see how much health they have. I think it's 4 and not 5, so I don't think we're going to see a damage boost here off the lasers. But if you have the health, this is probably the one that you're going to see players take, waiting for that platform there. So missed opportunity due to not having the health, but doing the best they can with what they have. Taker is, and this is still going to be a really good run. It's not going to be that 31-30 they were looking for, especially since they just jumped headfirst into those spikes. But it, still ahead of all the other competitors here today, and likely one of the best times of anyone competing in the tournament today.
Well, we'll just have to wait for the next set of rooms to go smoothly, because it is not done yet, but for sure the level of execution we're seeing right now is insane. But as well from Sablier and Ghostdeath, very, very good runs overall, even if as soon as I say that, I see Ghostdeath struggling in the Glacial Peak here, a little bit of time loss, and Sablier went for very, very advanced strats and missed some of those, and sadly misses the Shuriken here. The eyes intercepts it, but Sablier is building confidence, I'm sure, on the game, and they're going to be able to get a full-blown sub-32 at some point if they keep on practicing the game.
I think so too. They've currently got a 33-35, so they're really getting there. It's really not so easy to go, from get that remaining 35 seconds, but just based off of seeing them move around, I feel like that's definitely something that they can eat. Oh, they slip onto the laser. The rope dart fired too soon. It has a range on it. It will retract if it doesn't hit anything in that range, and it's surprisingly easy to throw it out too early.
Taker, what's happening?
He's wingsuiting on the okay, his sprite is a little...
What is happening?
I'm sure he's just standing and got a visual glitch.
Is it a visual glitch, or is he actually flying?
I mean, I doubt he's just gonna start. I don't. If he just flies up there when this fight starts, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's visual, but they entered and left quickly. Can they? Okay. That was pretty trippy. All right, the final boss. You're going to use the same strat as you did with Skull and Osses, but you're going to do that flying using your cloud step of the head of the Goldiok and Golem here, and the iframes are insane. You are just flying through those pink balls, and the boss is already dead.
That's so much harder than it looks. Certainly the invincibility frames on the rope dart helps a whole lot, and it makes it seem pretty scary. And so it's not that scary, but it's still really, really easy to be off with one of those inputs. And the second your invincibility frames drops, you're going to get hit. And then depending on where and how you got hit and how you react to it, there's a good chance you're going to fall. And then if you fall and you're at the wrong part of the boss's cycle, he's going to do some stupid attack that summons lasers and takes forever. And so it's really bad. You're in danger of losing 10 seconds to an incredibly very small mistake on this boss fight. Very, very important to get it right, exactly like Taker did. Perhaps Sablier will follow suit here on the final sequence. Molkemus has been actually passed by Ghostdeath here on stream, even though Ghostdeath was starting quite a bit late due to a crash. So Molkemus, much further behind Ghostdeath than it appears, has been struggling a little bit, but did manage to clutch out a kill on Colas and Seuss's, so that's probably going to help their confidence a little bit.
Taker's final time was 32:26 in-game, so, well, loadless, so that's a fantastic time, about a minute and a half behind Walderherd, and just crazy good overall. Uncontested, no one has done yet, but it feels like Double Teeth and Skunkoff are not far behind.
We'll have to take a look at the leaderboard when we're done. Sablier now is getting the combos going with the rope dart. The hardest part, I think, is when the spheres are there and you're on the outside, trying to latch on with your rope dart to get the invincibility frames without touching any of them is pretty difficult. You kind of got to aim at the top corner. Nice. And it looks like Sablier took some hits, but was able to hold on and get all the damage that they needed without touching the ground. So the real time here was like a 34:42 or something. So knock off a couple seconds, and that's a pretty solid time. Probably less than a minute off of PB.
34:25 is the final time. They've lost a lot of time here and there, and especially that one death in the Tower of Time. But overall, yeah, they went for crazy good strats and very solid overall. So they're unhappy with their Colossus fight and the death at the tower. But except for that, went pretty well for Sablier. Meanwhile, Ghostdeath through the Tower of Time has all their health and one shuriken left.
Well, all that health certainly has me thinking about the damage boost as Ghostdeath enters this room here, falling down with the lasers. And are they going to go for it? They're pretty aggressive, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they did. And here we go. Nice.
All right, Ghostdeath has only 2 HP left, so and that's where Sablier died, with the rope dart being just, I don't know, that was a few pixels short, and they fell into the spikes. They went for it, at some point when you're spearing, you're not just parsing what's happening on screen. You just are thinking about what's going to happen 5 seconds later. And so if you are supposed to just go and grapple onto the ring, you're not going to let go of the left or right input that you are pressing at the time. And sadly, that killed Sablier, but Ghostdeath has no issues whatsoever and is moving forward pretty quickly.
We've seen some players do some crazy things with those eyeballs, like trying to get some damage boost going or something, but not quite respecting them, taking the care they need to get rid of them, and then some really bad things can happen if they knock you off of that platform. Getting caught between the lasers and then trying to get out of it while the platform's moving back and forth is extremely difficult.
We've seen some fun stuff. The tiny skip here goes the setting up and nicely gets it immediately. If you do fail that skip, you are likely going to hit another crystal, meaning that you're going to teleport back instead of going forward, losing you even more time than just going through the regular route. All right, no funky sprite into the boss fight. We are about one boss fight behind Taker, so that's a very, very good run from Ghostdeath.
Can't wait to see what the final time ends up being. Currently, the real time on display here is not so helpful. Their run, looked pretty good. I haven't been able to follow the whole thing, but every time I looked over, it's been some really solid play. So let's see if we can close it out strong here. Getting some slashes here, but I think they do use the rope dart here. There's an alternate strategy where you just try to find the correct distance away from the spheres to slash the boss without touching them. But it's pretty precise to get there. A lot of players seem more comfortable with the rope dart strats, and also I think it probably lets you get in hits faster. I'm actually not sure about that.
I think it's about the same DPS. I don't know. As long as you're up there and you're slashing as fast as you can, the rope dart is going to end with a slash, and there is a slight delay between slashes. You cannot mash. It doesn't go, as you input the attacks. Oh, it's going to wait for a cycle here. That's going to let the mage attack them for a long time.
Damage boost. Oh, he slashed the projectile. He could have taken that hit from that one projectile to get through the laser. I think that would have been the way to go. And
they missed the red the origin of the laser. It went from the bottom and not for the top of the screen. It surprised me as well, but they survived. All right. Sadly, they're not going to have enough health for the damage boost, but they're not on PB pace either. They died a little bit too much, and they just have to go for safety measures and finish the run as fast as they can now. But the Tower of Time is pretty tricky, and congrats to Gus that's getting a gold split on that segment.
Yeah. We were musing about the different strats on the final boss. Didn't really talk about the fact that Ghostdeath nailed the final kill as well. Very solid end to the run. We'll get an idea of what their time is when we take a look at the leaderboard when we're done, but obviously we're not. Mulgamis still has about half of the Tower of Time left to go. and they're at 3 health here, so every laser is going to kill at this point, and that's the situation probably isn't going to change for a fair bit here. So it's always really scary in the tower time. Spikes as well will also kill at 3 health, so they are equally a concern here. There is an opportunity to go a little bit faster in that room, getting another early cycle, but it's one of those really, really advanced cycles that not many players have been going for in the UD. We can take a look at the leaderboard now, actually, and see that it looks like Taker has managed to retake that top spot.
Wow, 7 points ahead on Devil Tifa. The points go very slowly on the Messenger, and they ended up a minute and a half faster than Devil Tifa. Both Devil Tifa and Ghostdeath at the 33:55 mark. Sablier correctly guessed the fourth place here and finished with that 34:25. So that's 207 points. KTH got 34:51, and Skunkov got a crazy good time at 33:56, so exactly tied with Ghostdeath and Devil Tifa. Mulligan has just died and has to go all over again. Thankfully, they got the safety checkpoint here.
Yeah, we have seen some players opt to skip that just to save a little bit of time, but it will save you a lot of time if you do end up dying, getting a little bit of trouble there on the spikes, but has the health to take that hit. Very, very close between Ghostdeath and Sablé, 1 point apart, and that 1 point is going to be the difference between the silver and the bronze star, unfortunately. But we got KTH and Skunkov rounding out our top 6. Fireman is currently the only other player remaining to have finished all 3 games. Won't be surprised if we see a couple more times pop up on the board. We saw, for example, in Out There Somewhere, some late additions to the leaderboard. Meredith, Tilgar, Alnacour, and Elgerine all racing that game. So we'll see if maybe they're also playing the Messenger, and we'll post a time for all 3 games in the tournament. I know some of these players are not competing in all 10 games. Alnacour certainly did quite well in the qualifying tournament if they didn't quite get there. Fireman as well, who is currently in 7th. Lots of players have just raised the bar to some crazy heights in the season.
Fireman 2 points behind PB on the Messenger, a little bit behind, 3 points on Out There Somewhere, and Minit 2 points behind. Very consistent player, but has to practice. Oh no, Molemes does go for the skip and actually goes a little bit too deep there and touches the laser. Fireman, if they want to get there live on Stunfest with us, has to practice a little bit more the Messenger and Out There Somewhere maybe, and that's it. They're fairly good at every game. Currently at the 16th place on the leaderboard, but it's so packed, so dense between the 5th place and the 20th place. It's going to be very difficult to qualify in the tournament, and it's very going to be down to who's most comfortable switching back and forth between games without practicing.
Yeah, like Fireman, it was very, very consistent today, which is a really good sign. But they're the kind of person who just kind of needs to upgrade their strats a little bit, I think, which is pretty scary and maybe a little annoying when you put all your time into learning one thing and kind of have to unlearn it a little bit and learn a new thing. And then trust that your brain is going to be able to switch like that. It's not so easy. But when you're doing so close to your PBs and races, and it's you're still finishing just a little bit outside of where you need to be, it can be pretty difficult to find ways to go faster from that point. So needs to get back in the lab a little bit, and then absolutely we could see Fireman be one of those players competing in grand finals, indeed maybe even ultimate finals, live at Stunfest. I always forget the date. May 17th.
May 17th for the for 8 players and 18th for the 4 best. We're going to that on 2 days, and we're not going to restream that live on Speed Gaming, but we are going to do a rebroadcast commentated in English, so everybody that followed the entire season with us on Speed Gaming will be able to to watch that, but it's going to be a little bit later. We are going to decide the dates. Not sure when, but it's going to be fun, and we are going to know the results. So I don't know how we're going to be building the hype and unspoil the story, but it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll know the results, and I won't, and I'll be surprised. Depends how we want to play it. But yeah, we won't leave you guys hanging after following along on the whole season. Mulgames has not left us hanging either, finishing off the Arcane Golem is what I call it. I don't know if it has a name, but it's dead now. Whatever it was, that's the end of the goal. Finishing, 45-15. I think it was more like a 45-10, perhaps. We'll see when the time comes up on that leaderboard on the left side of the screen. It's not going to be enough to crack the top 10, very likely.
So hard.
It's going to be close,
top 10.
but I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be enough to actually pass Thorgaren. Thorgaren doing great, and the 11th place. And Olnuker is not done yet. They were super psyched to be on top 3 after a minute, and sadly fell behind during out there somewhere. Did not go quite as planned, but 12 minutes still finishing the game on time. We have set bars, and you have to keep the pace going. That's not too easy. Elgerin, I don't know if they're going to finish the messenger during the stream, but they're going for it, and we have still few runners running, but there's a big gap between players being over 205 points and players below 190. There's feels like maybe if you put enough time to go for sub 36, you are encouraged to go even lower than that.
Yeah, this lines up with my experiences, I think, because I have not sat down and practiced the messenger, the room for room, right? Like knowing exactly what I'm going to do in each room. I've just played it a couple times, and I'm reasonably sure what this room looks like now because I've been, watching it on these races all the time. But I'm still just kind of making a lot of stuff up as I go, and so my time is around where Mulgames is now, and so I think probably those bottom people are like me, haven't sat down and done the room for room practice, and then everyone above has, and it is the kind of game that benefits so much from that approach, and it's reflected in the scores. So that's going to do it for our tournament. Congrats again to our big winner and taker, Devil Tifa, and I've already forgotten. Take away the results, and they just disappear for my Ghost Death was the one who climbed into our third place spot. Silver stars for them. You can take a look at the new achievements for week 6. Is it only week 6? I feel like it must be later than that. At this point.
It's I think the week 6 is wrong. I'm not sure. We'll have to count, but it has started early February, so that's probably more like week 8. But the first and biggest achievement is going to be running a decathlon. Run all 10 games in a row with taking maximum of a 5-minute break in between games, so you don't have the time to practice. And it's finally time. If you were with us since the beginning, just go for that. If you just want to play all those 10 games as fast as you can and not try to speedrun too much, it's going to take you about, I don't know, 8 to maybe 8 hours is a correct time if you know a little bit about the game but you never speedrun them. And the best decathlon time so far, removing the setup times, is 2 hours and 33 minutes. So the players have run quite a lot. For Rack, it's going to be start the final boss with the Doomsphere active, so that means that you are going to have to go for the skip, but if you want to do that, you can set up a quick save just before just at the start of the level, and just practice the skip. For the messenger, is going to go and do the skip in Bamboo Creek, the great elevator skip. So the one we were talking about and no one got during this run. VVV, fairly straightforward. Finish the game with less than 50 deaths. That's going to be pretty difficult if you don't know quite yet what you're doing in the game, and if you've actually sat down, followed through the Mohawk tutorials, and grinding the game quite a bit, I think a lot of players are going to be already there.
Yeah, if I'm there, then a lot of players must be there ahead of me. I've been struggling with VVV. VVV just, I don't know, it doesn't click with me very well. I'm playing on keyboard instead of my controller. I don't know, maybe I'm just making excuses, but I did finally learn the entire game and start doing some runs. I got an 18:09. It's a time that I am happy with, and it had 24 deaths in it, so I get to tick that box off. But the others were pretty difficult. I've lost them now, but my heart sank. I saw the VVV one, and I was like, I got that, and then I looked at the right side of the screen, and they started to get pretty difficult. Eagles on holes 4, 5, and 8. That's a tall order in Turf Masters.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty difficult. Out there somewhere, I don't know why, but the achievement is get a run deathless, which is never happening for me. I'm sure I'm always going to die somewhere. And for Mega Man, some players have said that Flame Man was actually faster than Wind Man, so in order to get the players running through the stage, the achievement is to kill Flame Man without taking damage. Just the boss, not the entire level. And then we have some secondary and more fun achievements, which don't necessarily apply for speedruns, although for Trackmania is to go for and succeed on doing the skip on B13. For Kirby's Dream Land is to beat the extra mode, which is pretty silly. VVV is going to collect all 20 trinkets. Minit buy the shoes. I don't know quite yet how you do that. I should sit down and play 100% of the game.
It's just the coins that are scattered that's throughout the world. You get an extra 8 of them, I think, and you buy some shoes that when you hold a direction, eventually you start running faster.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, you have to find all 7 coins and even more. But, yeah, I found just half of that, maybe 4 or 5, and I don't know quite where are the others. And on Rack, it's going to be finish the game in hard mode. So that's pretty difficult because the robots are going to one-shot you when they slam the ground and stuff like that. But if you do know the speedrun, it's going to be pretty easy.
Yeah, this was I played through hardcore after speedrunning the game, and didn't find myself getting knocked around or slowed down too much. But I wouldn't get credit because I don't think I actually finished the final boss. I think I was doing it just before we were about to start casting, actually, so didn't quite get to finish my run. But Bast had finished a run of the Messenger, though, actually coming in here with 152 points on the core with 128. Tilgar, I think, was maybe already done, maybe not. I can't, with 140 points on the leaderboard. So getting those runs in here before we're done is good to see. Trackmania, getting that skip is a thing. I've got the trinkets in VVV. Veni Vidi Vici is infamous in that game as a very difficult trinket to get, but I got it, so I was almost there on all the secondary achievements. But that skip in 13 that's something.
Congrats to the players that have joined just for fun. I don't know if Meredith or Elgerin are going to finish the Messenger, but UD is all about getting those runs and getting into deep as much as you want. We've had a lot of talks on Twitter, especially about difficulties in games, and UD is all about making speedrunning and all the video games accessible and fun for everybody, just whatever your skill level or how much deep you want to grind those games. You don't have to be the Taker or the Devil Tifa to be happy and have fun speedrunning any video game. So be welcome. If you just want to join right now, it's still time. If you want to learn just maybe the Messenger or even the 10 games, you might have enough times. Although I doubt you'll be able to knock down those heavy hitters we have. Ghost Death, Savlia, Devil Tifa, Taker, and all the others that are already qualified maybe to the grand finals. Everybody's pretty good. But speedrunning is not stopping yet. We are done with the tourney here, but Speed Gaming has a ton more content happening this weekend.
It sure does. The weekends they get genuinely crazy here compared to the weekdays on Speed Gaming, so bear with me. The Super Metroid Prodigy tournament is going to be coming up after this in about 20 minutes. It's a pretty cool thing. where runners who have a PB no better than 50 minutes are all featured. If you're faster than that, this tournament's not for you. Go play in the other one. This is for the up and coming runners. It's like it's like a minor league, I guess you might compare it to some sort of sports. There is currently some Soul Blazer randomizer happening on Speed Gaming 2. This is a pretty recently added randomizer, and also Soul Blazer has been on my mind ever since the Everhate Memorial race. So shoutouts to Everhate and or blame him if you see fit. But Super Metroid randomizer is happening today. Super Mario Bros. 3 randomizer, Ori and the Blind Forest, Kirby's Dream Land, of course, got to give the shout out to the UD game, Donkey Kong Country 3, A Link to the Past randomizer, Spoiler Log Tournament, Pac-Man World 2, and Final Fantasy 1 randomizer, all happening today on various channels. The only way to figure out what's happening where is to type !schedule, go to the link, find out what's happening, check it out, and then maybe come back next time for some more Ultimate Decathlon. When are we going to be here?
Let me check. Actually, it has been decided, but I'm lost. It's going to be either we have 2 tournaments happening on either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. One of those dates is going to be skipped. But the first tournament is going to be Mega Man 1 through 6, Neo Turf Master, and Lawnmower, which is going to be fun. And then for the second one, for the weekdays, we have planned a fun tournaments on Mega Man 1 through 6. It's going to be about being smarter and better than your opponent at switching between different robot masters, and it's going to be pretty fun. Next Saturday, we're doing Rack Out There Somewhere, Kirby's Dream Land, and Minit. So, we'll see you then. I don't know if it's going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'm pretty psyched for those races.